Hello, viewers. There's this question that I've been thinking about, and I want you to help me. So, today we are going to talk about something. So, you are in this healthy, loving relationship with this individual, and your belief says that you should not engage in any sexual intimacy. You believe that, you put effort into it, but then the hormones are acting up. There are some times that, you put all the brakes, but then you see that the brakes are not working. Is it easier, really, to be in a healthy, loving courtship and not have sexual intimacy? That's what we want to talk about today. We're going to look at the biblical perspective, but also the reality on the ground. And I believe that when we are done, you will make an informed choice. With me here again today is our dark chocolate African king, Anthony Atiga. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here again.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, resisting sexual intimacy, it's a challenge. Is it possible in a healthy, loving courtship, especially the long-term ones?
Very interesting topic. Resistance of sexual urges starts with the individual. Naturally, there are some people who can resist different things at different times. And so, first of all, it depends on the individual. Is it something they struggle with naturally? Or is this a nominal urge that comes with, or that comes to everybody? So, it's one thing. But sexual urges are not easy to resist, we must admit. They are not easy to resist. And then also, in your opening statement, you mentioned if you're part of a society, a church, a group, does that group subscribe to such things? Is another thing. If it doesn't, I'm sure that that group has prescriptions to also help you navigate those very challenging moments. So primarily, to answer your question, sexual urges are naturally not easy to resist or to just ward off. You need to be deliberate about it, and you need to put certain mechanisms in place so that you're able to, navigate your way through.
I love the answer. It's not easy. Start with an individual, but then you can have boundaries or put structures in place. So let's say I'm coming from a religious background and I'm dating and I'm loving this person, we're loving each other, we are connecting. It's just so amazing. From a religious background, what are some of the things that you think we can put as a relationship? Because each relationship differs. Let's say this is the relationship. Yeah.
Once again, as I said, from a religious background, I'm sure, based on your denomination, as the Bible is a basis, you would definitely have certain prescriptions. I'm sure from the Christian fraternity, you have, it's a no-no.
Okay.
So what do? You have to set boundaries. Maybe you might be encouraged per your discourse in church and all to pray about it. Depending on your faith also, it may work. It may work, yes, depending on your faith. You might put yourself more into groups. So it all has to do with structures. So the institution might have certain prescriptions. And other institutions may say, you know what, just if it's courtship, just get married. Okay? If it's courtship, it's not dating. If it's courtship, maybe you might want to hasten your steps to getting married. But on the whole, I think whatever institution you subscribe to or whatever society you are affiliated with would definitely be able to help you or may have these prescriptions to guide you through.
I love the part that you said, if you're courting, just get married. But what if you're still not clear in that bit to just rush into marriage?
This thing about sex itself has a way of clouding the judgment or the better judgments. If you're courting and you're not clear, why would you want to go into sex? because you're going to end up confusing yourself, because the excitement and the pleasures of it may overshadow your reasoning, and you might identify certain things that naturally will not make you go into that relationship, but you might be compromised in a sexual way. So you think, oh well, I might as well just marry this person because we're sexually active, and I just cannot dump this person, and oh, it was nice, and I'm not gonna get anybody like him or her again, and all those things. So if, of course, the courtship hasn't picked up the way you guys envisaged, or you have imagined, why rush into the sex? You know, because naturally the sex should crown everything. So why rush into it? If you're not sure, then you don't go touching or tasting at all. Otherwise, you're going to be hooked up by something else, which is not actually founded on the principles of marriage, or of a healthy marriage. And you might get into the whole marriage thing and realize that this is not actually what I want. It's not just all about the sex.
You see, your eyes open and you see the actual
you get to know. Yes.
person.
So, and the sex, the urge for that sex even fades off.
Yeah.
You know, because maybe the person was just masquerading him or herself as something he or she isn't.
Yeah.
You know, so it's quite an area that needs wisdom. So we need to apply a lot of wisdom to navigate.
You talked about praying if you're a Christian. You talked about healthy boundaries. You talked about being in a group of people. Okay, let's say that you've done all of that. You pray about it. You fasted. There are times that you have near misses. I mean, you survive it. But then it comes to a place where you actually had the intimacy. And you realize that, oops, shouldn't have been happening at this time. But you love each other and you want to continue. What do you do?
So once again, it comes to the prescriptions of the Christian tenet you subscribe to. So if you have had what you just mentioned as a slip, or you get to be intimate before the marriage, and as I said, you love each other, all the boxes are checked, what are you waiting for? You get
I
it?
like that question. What are you waiting for?
Yes, if you have checked all the boxes, there are no ifs and buts. You have prayed about it, you fasted about it, you think he's the right person or she's the right person, you've perhaps gone through some form of counseling, and you couldn't resist the urge, and you have been intimate with the person. Would you continue being in that state? No. That's not the prescription of your Christian values. So you go and correct it. You pray for forgiveness, ask God for guidance and the resources needed, and get married. Then you can enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, in addition to the good and healthy relationship you already have established.
So there has to be an open communication. There has to be an intentionality of courtship, because from what you're saying, what I get is that some people, they are not intentional. I mean, we just go and see if this is the person. But when you're looking for a purpose partner, and during your conversation in your dating time before you move to the courtship, you've had this healthy conversation, and you see there's a connection. You see that, you are sharing similar values, and you're willing to do life with each other. I think that shortens the courtship instead of lengthening it, because sometimes people lengthen it because they are not intentional. They are not courting this purpose partner. They're trying to see if they can pick bits and pieces here. But from what I'm getting, if you are connected and you're looking intentionally, you are courting, I don't think there will be this long gap of having all the slips. The slips might come, like you said, but if you're sure, and then you just go with that. Because sometimes people say, oh, it's too quick. They just dated for 6 months and they're getting married. I think these ones, something has been happening. That's why they're rushing. You know, our people, they will say, they're rushing to get married. Baby, she's pregnant. They don't want us to know things like that. You know.
Yeah, so it still comes back to, once you're affiliated with a particular institution, you weren't forced into it. You play by the rules of the game. So, and Christianity is what we're discussing here now.
Yeah.
So you subscribe, you put yourself wholly to it, But I don't want us to pretend that that doesn't, the challenges of sexual intimacy or sexuality doesn't exist, and I don't want us to also validate the fact that it's a challenge. Therefore, it's an open gate for everybody to do what they want. The principle here is this: the Bible is what guides us as Christians. So, what does the Scripture say about it? So for me, we need to more or less, you mentioned communication. You need to talk about it very openly on the basis of your faith. You need to be convicted. You need to be convinced in your mind. So if all these things, trust me, if you've gone through all the biblical foundations, I don't think that you have the conscience to go ahead and even be intimate. And even if it ever happened, the conviction of the Holy Spirit alone would be enough for you to make the necessary corrections. Okay? So in this instance, I'm being very careful here, because not just Christians are listening, but there are people who may be struggling with the same issues out there. And we should be careful to also gently rope everybody in, that we come to a very harmonious understanding where the parties involved will always have not a guilty mind, or will not have this heaviness behind their heads that they have done something so wrong and they cannot be forgiven, and they are struggling and nobody is there to help them and all that. So for me, sexuality or intimacy in courtships, first of all, should be discussed amply by both parties. And if they need to, hasten their marriage, in a very right manner, they would know, so that they don't fall victim to such situations. If they need to slow down, they will know. And it's always important to seek counsel. Sometimes prayer alone doesn't wave it off. You can't just pray it out. You can't just pray those emotions away. Nobody put it there. God put it there from a very, very... when you turned adolescent, all those things started pouring into you. All those chemistry started in you. Nobody told you what to do with your sexuality. So God put it there. But He gave us managing mechanisms also to make sure that we exploit in a very congenial environment, and that is marriage. So, because if we don't do that, we're going to have issues. We're going to have delinquent children, diseases, all sort of things. So all those things must be measured and must be done under the congenial institution of marriage. So that should be the goal. That should be the essence. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah.
You're saying something, I'm listening. I want to pick on the communication. Said you have to have a conversation about it with the person you're courting. A lot of us shy away from talking about sexual intimacy. I don't know if it's our background, our culture, the way we grow up. Nobody's saying anything, but there's something going on. And you're dating and you don't feel really open to talk about it. So what you said is like, you know that we are heading somewhere and sometimes these things happen. We need to have an open conversation that, you know what, sometimes this is how I feel. It's so overwhelming, so tempting. But how can we help each other as we journey and uphold the standard and put those boundaries and still remain healthy and safe?
So it comes back to the same thing again. The institutions which you belong to, or the society, or the church, should be the best place and the safe ground for us to practice healthy relationships. So I personally believe that the church should have activities even from a younger age 12, for example, And we should surreptitiously put all those things in the curriculum of our studies or in our teachings for younger people from that age, because that is when all these things begin. And so we shouldn't wait till the last minute when they are in their 25s and their 20s and their 30s before their eyes are open to some of these things. And when we're able to teach some of these things to younger people at a younger age, they begin to lay a foundation, a principal foundation of who they are as Christians and what they stand for, or what we all stand for as Christians. And they are able to make informed choices. Therefore, if they should meet their partners in the church, or their prospective or possible partners in the church, these are conversations that they are going to really have without favor, without fear, without, being looked down on, because the church doesn't shy away from discussing and teaching people what exactly or what their way should be. So once under the same umbrella, we've been taught the same thing as young people, we're able to have very healthy discussions. And as I said, the church should lead the way in prescribing solutions of how we should live when it comes to, beginning a family, starting marriage, courtship, dating. The church should be very deliberate about it. And I think that will go a long, long way to start the discourse amongst peers, amongst people who find each other interesting. So they always have something to discuss. There's always something to facilitate the discussion, and they'll be able to, the word I like to use is navigate, because it's not a straight road. They'll be able to, day by day, find their way through it. So once again, it is the individuals. It is about communication, which is very, very, very key. What do you stand for? What do I stand for? How do I feel at this moment? How do you feel at this moment? What should we do to avert it? Now, there have been prescriptions like, okay, don't be together in the same place alone. If you're feeling like that, and that is a prescription, that is a way out for you, you say, look, I'm feeling like this. I don't think we should be here for long. Can we take a walk? But these are interpersonal things we can discuss amongst us. So I don't think it should be the big picture. It's not a principle, but they are just rules that we can make. And these rules change from individual to individual. Others, two individuals can very much resist the sexual urge. You can put them in one room for a reasonable time, and of course, nothing is going to happen. Beyond that reasonable time, something is going to happen. Yes, but there are others, of course, put them in a room for 1 minute, and it's going to be explosion.
It's going to be fireworks.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of maturity, it takes a lot of experience, it takes a lot of knowledge and understanding of each other and the Word of God, which is the foundation. To once again, the word is navigate through.
Navigate. Yeah. I love the word navigate. You talked about the church being intentional, so that it comes back to the family as well, right? Because before you go to the church, you come from a family. And we are having a challenge from this part of the world, and parents giving names to sexual parts, different names. This is misleading. So if parents can start also age-appropriate sex education, talked about the value and the importance of intimacy within the confines of marriage, and if you falter and if these things happen, you can get up back again and provide that environment. So when they get to the church now, the church is also able. I think this is wherein we need to have this conversation of restructuring some of the things that we teach the children, not only the Bible, but also practical things like appropriate relationship. At a certain age, you see someone, you see JHS1 having a relationship. There's a way above their age, and they're trying to do things. By the time they get to university, it's a done deal. So I think also the family, but also the church. I realized that family life, forgive me, is active when there's a wedding. I don't know if you've noticed that. I don't know for other churches what they have, structures that they have in place. They're active when they have a wedding, or when there's a crisis in a wedding, in a marriage, and then they come in. But I think they should be very active, like you said, from age 12, be intentional. And there is a cultural practice I love about people from other parts of Africa, which is the South and the East. This training of young women, put them in a place where they train them, they indoctrinating them the importance of marriage, intimacy, the value, the expectation, and all those things. So when they get to that place, they already been prepared. They value and respect themselves. But if we just leave it like we can only preach it out at the pulpits and just condemn it and just judge people and call them names, then we haven't done the foundation. We haven't built the blocks that keeps them going. The preaching doesn't change it, does it?
Yeah, the preaching is all just good to crown everything we have taught people or everything people have learned.
Okay.
But coming back to the family, yes, it's very true. The family is a very building block of society, and it's the families that make up the church. So families must also be intentional. Parents must be intentional. Not only do the children or offspring in the family or the younger ones in the family listen, they watch. You know,
Yeah.
so we must
That's
be
so
mindful. The family, the parents must be mindful of the conduct at home.
Yeah.
And then it can follow with teaching. You also mentioned the family life. You know, the home and family life has its role to play, and well, would encourage that some of these things be looked at if they can be a design of a teaching or a teaching method to inculcate some of these things even in church. And I believe, just as you said, in other areas or in other parts of Africa, we also have here the women ministry, and I believe that it's also doing a great job, or it's also doing a great job in mentoring young women. And I believe that when some of these things are brought to their attention, it would be easier for them to also look at it and inculcate it into the training of the younger women who are upcoming. And I think that should also happen for the young men also. Yeah, it's important. Yes, it's not just the women who need the training for all these things. Although women are the cradle of society because they birth us and all, but men or young men also should be taught by the men ministry, and also the home ministry or home and family life can also support. So I think it's we have to work together to, you know, point our efforts in one direction, and that has to do with this sexual situation that is rife in our society now. And because we live in a society that all these things are pouring in, obviously it's going to affect the church, because from the church we go out there to mingle with people of all race, and we pick up some of these things and these challenges and all. So the church needs to come back to the table, and family life, men's ministry, women's ministry, everybody comes together to shoot the effort in this particular direction. And see, I believe that we can come up with very good solutions if we did.
That's so good. I love the men thing, because sometimes we focus on the women, the ladies, but we tend to leave the men as if they have to struggle to navigate. And I think men growing up have this urges, I mean, maybe almost all the time. Women maybe during a month or when you are ovulating, things like that. But men having all these urges and all these things, they are left to navigate them alone. They don't know what to do, and they think that the best thing to do is to just go and have intimacy, get rid of this feeling, and then release myself from this pressure. And there's a build up, and then I go and look for another one. But I'm sure if they are guided that as a part of growing up, these things happen, but there should be measures and mentors and a way of navigating it. That would be good. So we don't leave them alone, because we have left them on their own to figure out things, and our eyes are on the girls because they get pregnant or because of certain things. But what about the boys?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, as I said earlier, effort should be made to bring both male and female together. The male do the male part, the female does the female part, and then the church can do all of us part. The family also plays a role. And then I believe that we can have a healthy society again. But it starts with the very society, the church. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that and for making time. Our time is up, but we'll do our best. Maybe if questions come, send in your questions and your comment, and then we can have maybe Q&A, an open session. And see, I know there'll be a lot of questions when it comes to this. I believe that also, as individuals, we need to be intentional, not only pray, but like we've discussed, be intentional. And when you fall, God forgives. Be kind to yourself. Get up back again. This is Sex in the Temple. My name is Monique.